All right, welcome. Today, we're diving into something pretty wild, a playbook for success that's, get this, 3,000 years old. We're going to break down how the life of the ancient King David is interpreted as 10 warrior laws to help you win in what the source material calls the game of life.
So that's the big question right off the bat, isn't it? Can the strategies of a king from 3 millennia ago really apply to our lives today? Well, the author of the book we're looking at is convinced they can, and we're about to find out exactly why.
And look, the author doesn't mess around. This quote, right from the introduction, makes a really bold promise. These aren't just interesting historical facts. They're described as potent, powerful principles for anyone who wants to be a champion in their own life.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the foundation, the lessons David learned from the past. Then we'll jump into the real meat of it, the laws of character and the laws of action. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at the king's legacy.
So first things first, where did all this wisdom even come from? According to the author, David didn't just pull these ideas out of thin air. They were forged in the fires of the successes and, maybe more importantly, the failures of those who came before him. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The author frames David's ancestry as more than just a family tree. It's like a strategic inheritance. Think about it. David learned to prepare for war during peace from Abraham. He learned perseverance from Isaac, unconventional, out-of-the-box thinking from Jacob, and leadership and delegation from Joseph. He was basically the ultimate student, building his own success on the lessons of generations. Okay, now we're getting to the main event, the 10 laws themselves. The author splits them into 2 parts, and we're starting with the 5 laws for building your internal framework, your character. This is the foundation that everything else is built on.
And here they are. Law 1. Put God first. 2. Learn humility from history. 3. Be reprimandable, which is a great way of saying be coachable. 4. Wield your emotional intelligence. And 5. Be forgiving and loyal. The book is super clear on this. These aren't just nice ideas. They're the non-negotiable bedrock for a successful life.
And this slide just nails that first law. The author puts King Saul and David side by side. Saul, he only sought guidance when his back was completely against the wall. It was reactive. But David made it a proactive habit. He constantly inquired of the Lord. You might say he checked in with his core principles before any big move. That's the difference between being led by your problems and leading your life.
This next law is huge, being reprimandable. When David was confronted about his biggest mistakes, he didn't make excuses. He didn't deflect. His response is described as having a broken and a contrite heart. This ability to own your failures, to really feel them, and then course correct, it's framed as a kind of superpower, the absolute key to his resilience.
Okay, so once you have that solid foundation of character, what's next? Well, now we move to the laws of action. This is where that internal strength gets turned into external results. This is where the rubber meets the road.
And here are the final 5 laws, the action-oriented ones. They're all about perception, creative thinking, leadership, being smart with your resources, and having a laser focus. According to the book, these are the exact principles that drove David's strategy everywhere, from the battlefield to the throne room. I absolutely love this example from the book. David gets cornered by his enemies in the city of Gath. He's trapped. Does he try to fight his way out? Nope. He acts completely insane, scrabbling on the doors, letting saliva run down his beard. It was a totally unconventional tactic that nobody saw coming, and it saved his life. It shows how critical it is to be able to think on your feet and break the mold. And this is such a crucial point. The final law isn't just about winning the next skirmish. It's about setting a truly audacious vision. The book argues that David inspired his followers by getting them to focus on a triumphant target, the ultimate prize. He taught them to aim for legendary outcomes, not just small, incremental victories.
And this number right here shows you the result of that mindset. The source cites one of David's warriors slaying 800 men at one time. This wasn't just a soldier doing his duty. This was someone aiming for an unbelievable, legendary target. It shows the kind of extreme performance, the ultimate stretch goal that David could inspire in his people.
So, after all these laws of character and action, what's the payoff? What does it all add up to? Well, the final section of the book looks at David's legacy, presenting it as the ultimate proof that this entire playbook actually works. And this piece of advice, passed down from David to his son Solomon, reveals the ultimate goal. The 10 laws aren't just for winning wars or gaining power. According to the author, they are a framework for acquiring the most valuable asset of all,
wisdom. And that pursuit of wisdom created this incredible, multifaceted legacy. He wasn't just a king. The book paints this picture of a true Renaissance man, a musician, a poet, a strategist who ensured a smooth transition of power, and an architect who built a capital city from what's called a heavenly blueprint, a grand, inspired vision. He's ultimately presented as a trophy of grace, a powerful example of what's possible.
And that brings us to the final thought here. The book positions David's life as this masterwork, built from a divine plan. So it leaves us with a pretty provocative question to think about. Whether you're building a company, a family, or just a life, what's the blueprint you're building from?